This video demonstration will showcase the enterprise features of Zoho CRM. We will begin by talking about users and permissions. To navigate to this section, log in to your CRM and click on Setup on the top right. On the screen, we will go ahead and start with users and permissions and talk about what is available only on the Enterprise Edition. The first thing you will see is data sharing settings. This helps to manage your sharing rules between different modules, the modules being the tabs at the top. So in the Professional Edition, you can choose to share data among different users using role-based security. Depending on where you are in the role structure, this will determine what you can see when you log into the CRM. And in this example, the CEO can see everything, versus the sales executive, being on the bottom of the hierarchy, could only see their own data when they logged in. But you can bypass this in the Enterprise Edition by creating data sharing rules. Between each role, you can see that the data will be privatized. So for example, sales rep number 1 logs in, can only see their own data. Sales rep number 2 logs in, can only see their own data. They are on the same role and thus they cannot be shared. Now, you can turn on sharing rules between the same exact role and have them see some information. So let's look. Here are all of our tabs. So if I want my sales reps to share their leads, I can click on Edit, and let's say I want to make them read only, or I can make them read write delete. By doing this, I'm bypassing the fact that they're on the same role and I'm allowing them to share their leads, but I'm making them read only, so they cannot manipulate any of the data. Otherwise, their leads would be private and they would only see their own when they log in. So this lets you share, but choose what you share between the same role. Now we can also compute sharing rules. Sharing rules will allow you to also bypass the role hierarchy by sharing among different roles and sharing among groups as well. For example, you want the roles of the sales team 1 to share to the role of sales team 2. Or you have a group consisting of a coach, a manager, and 3 reps, and you want them to also be able to share the data between the third group of reps, coaches, and managers, but not the second. So then you create a data sharing rule between the entire role or between entire groups. And groups is another thing that's only in the Enterprise Edition as well. When you create a group, you're basically allowing yourself to put different users together so that when you compute a sharing rule, it does them all at the same time. For example, you have a branch of an office, let's say in Texas, and you created custom views, custom reports for them, but you only want that office to have access to that data. Well, make them all into one group so that you only have to share to the group and not have to share to individual users at a time, which can of course take more time in itself setting up. So that way you could create a custom view for leads in Texas and then just share to the group. You create a custom report for deals closed in Texas, you share to the group. You don't have to go in through your entire user list, especially if you have 50 plus users, and find out who needs to see it, who doesn't need to see it. So this will make it easier for you to bring people together and then share to that entire group at the same time. So these 2 features will only be in the Enterprise Edition. The next thing I'm going to discuss is under the automation section, and this is under the workflow rules. Workflow rules automate your business processes. They allow you to execute tasks and alerts when specific criteria is met. However, in the Enterprise Edition, you will also be allowed to do a little bit more with the workflows. One, your workflow limit right now is 10 workflows per module. That's in the Professional Edition. When you upgrade to Enterprise, you're allowed 30 workflow rules per module, so it does significantly increase. You also will have different features available for execution criteria. So in the Enterprise Edition, we added field update. So now you can execute a rule when a certain field is updated or a certain group of fields is updated. And when they meet that criteria, and only in those specific fields, then will the workflow trigger. Versus on Professional, it will be generalized to the creation of a record or the editing of a record. So now you're going a little bit more specific. The criteria remains the same. You can add criteria for what type of lead in this example it needs to be, or what our last name field needs to update to. And now actions will also increase as well, so you will have the ability to update a field. So one field update could trigger another field update. For example, in territory management, if a person signs up and they are in Texas, then it will automatically update your territory to Southern. So this will make it easier than having to mark every single one of those states for that territory. So that's one way you could use update fields. Another way is to automatically update the owner. Let's say the same lead comes in from Texas. Well, based on that, you need the owner to update from the default to John, right? And so John gets all those leads from Texas automatically. So that's a workflow rule based on a field update. Calling webhooks. If you are interested in notifying another web-based applications, you can set up parameters to update fields in another application. Follow-ups. We do also have the section entitled Pulse, which you can read about in our user guide. Pulse is a way for you to follow your most important deals, and you can view them basically like a mini feed in one place. So you can check on how your reps are doing on all those larger deals that you're following. So you can automatically follow a deal based on criteria. We already have a big deal rule that's already in the CRM for you. Basically what that means is when a potential is over $10,000, it automatically follows them in Pulse. So you can go further and create your own auto follow-up rules as well. Okay, you can read more about Pulse in our user guide. It's available on both Pro and Enterprise. Time-based actions is another huge part of what we add to the workflow feature. So everything we talked about for execution criteria can now be delayed based on time. So let's talk about you needing to basically assign a task that is a year now away because you have to remind the customer they signed up 1 year ago, maybe their support contract is expiring. Well, you can trigger the same alert that you could trigger on the regular actions menu, but you can delay it. And as you see in this example, the execution time is 3 days after the trigger date. So we're delaying this alert here called support and feedback 3 days after the workflow is triggered. We can choose 365 days, so that way that task just doesn't sit there in the CRM. It doesn't even appear till a year later. And now you can trigger everything based on time that you saw in the previous section: alerts, tasks, field updates, webhooks, and follow-ups. So this is very helpful for reminding customers or reminding your users to follow up with someone, let's say 90 days from now or a year from now. Alright, so that's the extra features in the workflow section. I'm going to go ahead and leave that section as well. Let's go up here to organization settings. Currencies. If you are a global business, you can add currency exchange into the CRM. You can have up to 10 currencies. As you can see here, you can add the exchange rate as well. So if you are using the CRM to calculate invoices and quotes, then it will automatically convert it for the country that you're selling to. That will be in the Enterprise Edition only as well. It doesn't auto-update, so you will have to manually update if the currency exchange rate changes over time. If you look to the bottom left here, we have a chat available. So right now, if I click on this icon, I can see there's no one else is logged into the CRM. But when they are, it's basically you can click on their name and you can chat with them and a chat window will open. This is available in Enterprise Edition for free. You can also split people into groups. So if I want to chat my payments team, and it also will allow you to see your active chats, your chat history, and if you have any alerts. Let's say you missed a chat if you were offline. Alright, now under customization, there's a new section called Web Tabs. Web tabs are a way for you to create a tab at the top of the screen that links to a website instead. So if I click here, we've got the Announcements tab. So let's go to the Announcements tab. It will basically log into, in this case, Zoho Creator. So this is not in the CRM, but you're seeing basically a browser inside the CRM. You could have a web tab for Google.com, Wikipedia.com, Yahoo.com, just built into the CRM. Why do people have this? Well, they might have an online store that they want to look at their products. So you can check your products within the CRM itself if someone is looking on your website. You don't have to open another browser window. Alright, moving on, we're going to talk about autoresponders next. So if you are going to use the CRM for its marketing capabilities, there's an extra feature called autoresponders available. It will be seen under Contact Tools or Lead Tools. If I go and click on Contact Tools and click on autoresponders, here you will see that we do have the ability to automatically send emails to customers up to 250 per day on an interval. So an autoresponder is a set of emails that trigger on an interval. So you can see here we can have up to 3 autoresponders with 5 follow-up emails apiece. Now why is this important? Well, let's say your customer signs up for your product, in this case our CRM. Well, then you get your first responder when they register. You'll get another autoresponder, as we have in our own system, halfway through your trial to remind you that you're halfway through, and you get one more autoresponder at the very end letting you know you have 24 hours left till your trial's expired. So that is one way you can use the autoresponder feature. So you can create an autoresponder here. You would have to use email templates, and it will send to these customers that are on the list unless they choose not to be on this list. So it will send someone an email first day, third day, fifth day, seventh day, for example. Okay. If you are interested in this feature, but you want to do it on a much larger scale, much more than 250 emails per day, or you're looking to send more follow-ups, we have a second product available online called Zoho Campaigns. It takes the smaller marketing aspect of Zoho CRM and expands on it greatly, and it's a separate marketing platform. Alright, so this is kind of like a lighter version of the autoresponder feature in Zoho Campaigns. Let's go into data deduplication next. So, as you're building your CRM, you may run across duplicates, and you don't want that to add up, and basically ends up ruining your data because you have so many people with the same name, maybe same email. So there's a few ways that we keep this from happening. In the Professional Edition as well as Enterprise, you can turn on a duplication check by going into Setup and Layouts, depending on what tab you want to be in. So let's just stay in Leads. You would scroll to the bottom and you can say do not allow duplicates in emails fields. So let's say you added John into your CRM and his name is, let's say, john@gmail.com. Well, if user number 2 tries to enter john@gmail.com as another lead, it will let you know that there's a duplicate that exists. Okay, so that's one way we do it. Another way is when you're converting someone. Let's go to Albert Myers here as a lead. If I convert Albert Myers, it will check one more time for duplicates on the screen. It will look and see if there is a Northrop Grumman Corporation in the CRM, and it will also look for Albert Myers' email address. So that way, when you're converting, you know that this person already is a contact in your CRM, and someone else may have already followed up with them. Alright, now deduplication can happen in both the Tools section or on an individual record basis. So under Leads, Contacts, or Accounts, you can go under Tools, and you can click on Deduplicate. As you can see here, you'll choose what field you want to deduplicate by. So let's generally search for email duplicates. And here's everyone that has email duplicates. You can see on the very right there are 2. There's basically 2 of a lot of these people. So you can see there's doubles. So I can select one, I can hit Next. It gives me more detail. Now let's say you had 12 of these. Well, then you can further specify the criteria at the top again. Otherwise, you can click on the 2 that are matching, click Next, and you can merge them together. So this is pretty helpful. You can just merge by default and just select one or the other. But it becomes more crucial when you can actually go into the system and merge certain fields. So let's say we've got Shaukat Ali here. You've got 2 of them, but if you look under industry, you've got one as an ERP and one as a systems integrator. Well, look him up. Let's see which one he really is. He's actually a systems integrator. So we'll keep that. We're going to scroll down here for lead source, Google Ads, or public relations. We'll keep Google Ads. So as you can see here, you can choose what fields you want to keep, and then you can actually merge them together, and it will become one record. So this is one way to do data cleanup. The other way to do this is just by clicking on the lead name, Albert Myers. You can go under More Actions here at the top and click Find and Merge Duplicates. This will just look for one specific duplicate for Albert Myers rather than doing the entire system at a time. So our criteria is match any of the following. So we're looking for duplicates for the company, the first name, last name, email address, and phone number. So here it found duplicate based on the company. So we can choose how we want to search the criteria. And in this case, maybe because they're not the same person, we don't have to merge them together, but you do want to keep in mind you're talking to 2 people in the same company. You might want to note that down or make sure they're assigned to the same person. Okay, so this is how that is helpful for your reps as well. Alright, we're going to look at a couple more things here. I'm going to go into Setup on the top right again. So we're going to talk about case escalation. Now it's going to be located right here. Alright, so in the CRM, there is a tab called Cases. Cases are your post-sales follow-up or post-support follow-up. So that's how you log what is happening after the sale. Usually people have a support team or a service representative. If you're selling like software, we have upgrade requests, we'll have customer service requests, payment, billing, things like that. You're going to a support team. They can log these cases in the CRM and tie them right back to the client. Now, some cases may require a manager to step in, so they can be marked as escalated. When you escalate a case, depending on your case escalation rules, and when you generate a rule here, you can choose how you want this case to escalate. Right, so we enabled a rule here, so we're going to start an escalation scheduler. Alright, now that we have a scheduler created, we're going to create rule entry. Specify criteria. So what needs to happen to make sure that this case goes in the right direction? So let's take a step back. Let's say you're offering a bronze package, silver package, and gold package for your support team. If you pay a little more, you get a gold package. That means if you escalate, you get a manager response in 2 hours or less. Or if you're on the bronze package, it's a 24-hour response time. Something like that would be helpful in building a case escalation rule. You can even choose which location if you have multiple locations. And you can choose how it's escalated. So we're going to choose it based on the creation date and time of the case and what kind of case it needs to be. In this case, let's say if the status is marked as escalated, then we know this rule is going to happen in the US. Okay, so these hours that you can put into these rules, that's based on your business hours in the system itself. Set up business hours. So here in the US office, these are the times we're available. So obviously if you have a 2-hour escalation rule, someone calls in at 7 p.m. on Thursday, you are closed, so your rule won't trigger until the next day on Friday. So that's how it's determined. Okay, so if you already have a support or ticketing system, then you can continue to use that instead of using the CRM. But if you don't have one, this is very helpful for tracking escalations. We do have a separate product called Zoho Support. So if you want to take this up another level and have a full functioning ticketing system or a help desk, then you can also look at Zoho Support, which will integrate with Zoho CRM. So as you can see here, we talked earlier about campaigns and autoresponders. We talked about tickets and cases just now. So on a smaller scale, the CRM does do these feature sets along with sales. But if you want to have a complete separate robust system with more features that you can integrate to the CRM, then we offer Zoho Campaigns and Zoho Support as well. Alright, so now if I click under Upgrade and I scroll down to the Enterprise Edition, you can see we've covered group level security, escalation rules, autoresponders, group chat, and web tabs. If you click on Detailed Edition Comparison and I click on Plan Details, you can see here the differences between Pro and Enterprise. A few more things that we didn't talk about that you can see here. So notice the web forms. When you make a web form, such as a web to lead form on your website where someone can contact you and they become a lead directly in the CRM by filling out the form online, you can see that your limit doubles. So if you have multiple websites you want to place the form on, you'll get more options for that as well. Your storage space will increase for files or documents that you store in our cloud. It goes from 256 megabytes per user to 512 megabytes per user. Your importing data limit also increases from 10,000 to 20,000 records per batch. So on your spreadsheet, as you're importing, you'll get double the amount of import limits. Alright, now for profiles and roles, I told you those were both available in the Professional Edition, but notice the role hierarchy can be greatly expanded on Enterprise, with the mind that an Enterprise would have more users, so we can definitely need more options for the amount of roles and how you want to set up your organization hierarchy. And profiles also increases by 10 so that you can have more permission profiles for different positions in your company. Workflow rules I mentioned going from 10 to 30. We also talked about the field update here, webhooks, pulse follow-ups, and case escalation rules. On the bottom, these are enterprise-only features that we have covered today. Multiple currencies, group chat, web tabs, autoresponders, data deduplication, data sharing, groups, workflow field update, webhooks, pulse follow-ups, case escalation rules. Alright, now in terms of pricing, the enterprise is $25 per month per user, professional is $12 per month per user. Notice as well on the CRM mobile edition, you get more features for free if you have enterprise CRM. So on the professional edition at $3 per month per user for CRM mobile for iPhone or Android or BlackBerry or iPad, you have to pay for some of these features. On the Enterprise Edition, because you're already paying $25 a month, we're giving you half these features for free on the app, so you don't have to pay for it. Alright, so I hope this clears up the edition comparison between Pro and Enterprise. Feel free to read more as I showed you here. You can always click on Upgrade, scroll down to the 3 editions, click on Detailed Edition Comparison, and then click on Plan Details. And you can see this chart.